Continuing the conversation today on veteran stand-up with Alfredo Torres. And Alfredo, I want to shift subjects here because I know you have a big presence on LinkedIn. And a lot of veterans use LinkedIn, so I'd like to talk to you about that. Tell us about your journey, because I remember back in the day, you were just sort of another person figuring out LinkedIn, and now you're like a super rock star. So tell us
I,
about,
I, I
tell us
don't.
about, tell us what's gone on.
Well, first of all, I don't know if I'm a super rock star. I've got some people. Yeah, okay, but so my LinkedIn journey starts with LinkedIn. 100 years ago, like all of us old timers, when Facebook first came out and MySpace and all these other things. I hopped on it and then I didn't use it for years. And as I went through my personal journey outside of social media, I eventually got into a space working at a for-profit college where I started to utilize LinkedIn, and that kind of went, a little bit until I started working for the Commonwealth of Virginia, and then I met Michael Quinn, and Michael Quinn was at the beginning of his journey, but he was quite he had a good establishment in the LinkedIn community, not the superstar he is. If you want to talk about superstar, that's him. But we met and we talked and we had a nice conversation. And he said, you should really get on LinkedIn. And I was like, yeah. Fast forward about a year and a half after that, and the pandemic starts. And we all got stuck at home. Well, as a veteran advocate, how am I going to get to the veterans if I can't see them one-on-one? Michael Quinn's words came back to haunt me. Get on LinkedIn. You're a natural. You're you can have a conversation. You can have a discussion. You don't come across as somebody that's part of the establishment. That's suit and tie. You come across as a blue collar person, which is very relatable. And at the same time, you're educated enough and articulate enough that you could talk to people of higher ranks and higher statuses. So so I started. Now, mind you, it was tough because I had to get used to words that to me are BS words. They are words like develop your brand and networking and all of it. To me, those are all words that people use to make themselves sound more educated than the regular guy coming out of the military who's who's an infantryman or a bosun's mate or fuels or something. So I started to talk the way I talk, without the colorful language, because I am a sailor. But and the whole thing for me was also to make things relatable. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see I'll come out with something that's a topic that's absolutely, I don't know, out of the blue, and then I'll say, what does this have to do with transition? Everything, and I relate the topic to transition, and that opens up a lot for people, because now they're looking at transition in a different way, and it doesn't become this big thing. And I'm not using these words that I feel people use to make them feel important, and that could be intimidating.
Sure. Well, so what about other veterans who are just getting used to LinkedIn? What do you advise them in terms of how to use LinkedIn and what to do with it?
My advice is the standard advice that everybody says, but the thing is that don't be intimidated by it. Number one, sign up. Get yourself a decent profile. A lot of people feel overwhelmed about their profile. I say work 20 minutes a day to develop your profile. Don't try to get the whole thing up and running. Work 20 minutes a day. Number two, talk to people as you're developing it, and start to get some connections. Okay. I can't tell you how many people I delete that I don't accept because they reach out to me with 0 connections or 1 connection, because that's a red flag to me. You know, that means you're a scammer, or that's the way I see it. And when you start to get, as I'm sure you know, when you start to get a lot of connections, it can get overwhelming. And the more connections you add, obviously, the more you open yourself up to a bigger network. Can't believe I just used that word. To more access to people, but it also opens you up to more access to bad people with bad intentions. So anyway, as you're building up, start going, looking up, first of all, groups, veteran groups. Start following veteran groups. Start following companies. As you start to make your connections, be very purposeful in the sense of focus, depending on where you're at in your transition, focus on what your need is. If you're 2 years out, focus on connecting with veterans who have been there, done that.
Sure.
Understand that everyone's transition is different, but the more stories you hear, the more pitfalls you can avoid.
Okay, well, in addition to encouraging the listeners to connect with you, assuming they have one follower or one connection,
right?
Who are a couple, 3 people you follow on LinkedIn?
I follow you, obviously.
Thank you.
You have great insight. Tyrone Hewitt, look him up. He puts out stuff every day that can help you and connect you with sources, with insight of things that are happening that can affect your transition. I mean, again, I've been out 17 years, and I worked in the veteran space for 10 years in some way, shape, or form, and he still puts out things I didn't know about.
Yep,
Tyrone Hewitt's one. I'm going to say a group here, not a person. Vets to Industry.
Mm-hmm.
Follow Vets to Industry, because with a group of over 80,000 veterans and veteran advocates who can connect you and want to help. So the core group of them, people like Brian Arrington, Bruce Thompson, Hope White, people like that who are part of that group, are all great connections.
Sure. And don't forget to mention you. Don't forget to mention
you mentioned me. I don't need to mention me.
All right. All right. Well, listen, I got to bring this to a close here. Again, tell people how they can follow you on LinkedIn.
Again, look for Alfredo Torres. There's going to be a whole bunch of them, but look for the one that says Alfredo the Paisley Prince Torres.
And speaking of which, I noticed the shirt, so let's have a plug for the shirt today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've got over 70 shirts. I've got a Paisley pirate coat, 4 shoes, a bunch of jackets. Yeah, I like Paisley.
All right. When you form the company and you start service marking Paisley clothes, I want in on that one too.
I will definitely. You're coming in on the ground floor.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Alfredo. Have a good rest of the day.
All right. You too, Paul. Take care.
Thank you.